Welcome, fair people of YouTube. Today I'm excited to bring you the third Prebuilt deck that is belonging to Runecraft with the name of Hulking Rage. So remember, the decks are only from the Tempest of the Gods and Rise of Bahamut, so we won't see some really wanted cards in this kind of deck, but it still should be a pretty good pre-built deck, at least in my opinion, alright? So, with no further ado, let's just see just how good the Hulking Rage is. Alright, so as standard we get 10 basic cards and then about 4000 worth of dust. But you of course will not dust most of these cards, so let's jump straight into it. Also, this video will be much shorter because we actually won't record the battle, the game with the deck, because I think that is pretty pointless, because in current meta, even in casual, there are only tryhards, so yeah, just no point to show you. If you guys want, I can just paste the big loose screen into my video, and that will be exactly the same as I just played the game. So yeah, I just don't see a point. And also I miss some cards from this deck, exactly one legendary, so I couldn't really craft it. As you can see, I have only 200 vials. Alright, anyway, let's go. Inside basic card, Dwarf Alchemist, Great Silver, definitely playable. I would say is a pretty staple in current Runecraft meta. Craig, Wizard of Mysteria, definitely good in Daria decks, and this is basically a Daria deck. Freshman Lu very good in D-Shift, not really played in Daria. Magic Missile is basic, Conjure Golem is basic, I believe. Clark is also staple in Daria decks. Secret of Erasmus is one of the best removals right now, because for 3 mana you get 5 damage. Very good when there is only one opponent minion on the board. Rite of Exorcism, also a pretty good removal, although it's not really played, because 5 mana for killing one guy feels really bad when you are playing Runecraft, and you could do that for 0 with Fury Embrace. So yeah, unless you are playing Daria and you want this kind of removal, you generally don't play this card. Then we have Piercing Rune, staple in Daria, very good in Burn Rune, in Earthright. So yeah, definitely worth to get it. Ogler, staple in Daria. Magic Girl Melvi, you can always play her for draw. There is just one thing, that Wizardess of Oz is actually better, but Magic Girl Melvi is still playable, and I say that until you get Wizardess of Oz, you can play Magic Girl Melvi for your draw, especially in Daria. But I would recommend getting Oz as soon as possible. Then Gem Golem is not the part of the deck. Gem Golem is actually Hulking Giant. So yeah, I don't have Hulking Giant, so yeah, but we'll pass the alternate Hulking Giant in the bottom right corner. And Hulking Giant is actually one of the cards that, well, it's called a meme card, but it's actually a pretty good card, alright? It cannot be targeted by anything, but that doesn't make it unkillable like Aegis or, let's say, Beauty and the Beast, because you can still kill it with AoE like Themis, Mutagenic Bolt. You cannot petrify it, you cannot, Tsubaki it, so it will most likely live a lot, but you need to discard plenty of Earth Sigils, and in this deck your only Earth Sigils are from the Dwarf Alchemist, so yeah, I don't really think that this Earth Sigil or Earthright pack in this deck is something really good, alright? It's just there to give you some cards. And Hulking Giant is best when you combine it with Ariet, and if you discard 2 of the Sigils, you can get a 10-10 worth of stats on Hulking Giant, cannot be targeted, so very unlikely it will die, unless your opponent is head on board like crazy. And then you attack for 10, Ariet the Hulking Giant to let it attack second time, and you basically OTK your opponent on turn 7, with setup on turn 6. That's the dream, right? But in reality, even if you just drop 6 mana 10-10 that cannot be targeted, it's still pretty good, so Hulking Giant definitely something you could consider in your deck. But yeah, I'm not really a great fan of the alter art. I would much rather prefer that Daria got the alter art, but Sure, I guess meme cards are getting alter arts in this pre-built decks. Then we have Professor of Taboos, which is a great staple in removal. If you check the tournament meta, then Burn Rune actually plays the control package with Professor of Taboos and cards like 3 mana Seagulls, so either Price of Magic or the Gingerbread House. And yeah, actually they play Burn, like with... They play Oz, they play Mutagenic Bolt, they play Piercing Rune, but they also play the Magic Illusionist, but they don't play cards like Dance of Death, Demonic Strike. Instead they play this control package with, for example, also the 7 mana spell, how is it called? The Twin Guardians, there we go. So yeah, if you want to upgrade your Airfrite deck, you definitely get some good cards in this pre-built deck, but yeah, it's probably more worth to buy packs. You will get more dust and more cards for your Airfrite decks. Then we get Blade Mage, another Daria staple. Pretty easy, self-explanatory. You play this Daria deck, so you play Blade Mage. Mutagenic Bolt, also pretty staple in Daria. Enchanted Sword, not really staple in Daria, but I guess they wanted us to have it. I mean, this is a good card in D-Shift, right? In D-Shift you play that. And then Annabelle, pretty useless card, although it's a really good arena card, alright? And it's fun for your collection, but you can disenchant it if you want. Then we get Daria, the staple, double Chimera, and Flame Destroyer, also double. So Flame Destroyer is actually base card, I believe. Yeah. And Chimera is, let's say, not that good, but definitely playable. Alright, so we won't play a game with this deck because I don't have Hulking Giant and I want to be accurate with the deck list. But what I will do right now is tell you what you can change in this deck. So probably... Alright, let's see, this is... look at it again, guys. This is your start deck, right? You have nothing from Runecraft, you just started the game, you haven't opened your starting packs yet, and you bought this deck. You want it to be your base of a deck, of the class, basically. So you get some pretty good cards, right? We see that there are some very playable cards. And then you can see there is some Airfrite, and you see that, man, I don't really think that this deck can be built into Airfrite, because we literally have Professor of Taboos, Hulking Giant, and Dwarf Alchemist. So that's 5 cards we have. We cannot really make a working Airfrite deck on 5 cards, alright? You will have to open plenty of other cards. So we'll go into Daria direction. So your first step when building this into Daria deck will be removing your Airfrite cards. Right, we'll also remove the Hulking Giant. You cannot disenchant it, but, well. And we will add some Daria cards, right? Something that will be useful for Daria. Anna, also not really useful for Daria, we'll cut her. Everything else is actually pretty useful for our Daria, except for maybe Freshman Lou, but if you really lack cards, you can play her. She's not a bad card. Alright, so what will we add? First of all, we want to focus on Daria. You cannot really play this deck without Daria, so your first investment into the deck will be double Daria. Again, I miss one Daria, so we'll have to put something else. Let's put Mithril the Golem. This is our third Daria, alright? Then you look at and you see that you need more spell boost. So you find your Clark and add 1 Clark. It's silver, it will be easy to obtain. Then you look at your spells and you see that you could actually use some more spells, because, you know, you have to boost every discard, so... Yeah, we'll also cut, I think, Enchanted Sword, because it's not really a Daria card. But again, let's say you have... Really, you don't have any cards, so you need this Enchanted Sword, because you simply don't have anything you can put instead. So let's get to our 2-drops, because we have a great card that is the winner of the meta, to be honest, and we have to play it in every deck. That is Kaleidoscopic Glow. So we add triple Kaleidoscopic Glow, and this will be your first evolution of this deck, right? You will add Kaleido, it's 3 bronzes, 1 silver and 2 legendaries. This is your first step into this deck, and it already is looking much better, to be honest. Then we will check another step of upgrade. You definitely don't want Enchanted Swords. they are just not really good for Daria. They are a bit too expensive. And if you don't draw Daria with them, spell boosting 7 mana is kind of awkward. And you want to spell boost at least like 5 mana out of it to make it viable, so yeah, hard to do. I would rather not play it. So we'll cut it. We'll also cut Rite of Exorcism, because this card is not really optimal. And we'll cut Lu, because she's also not optimal. So we see that we cut another 6 cards. We can add Angelic Snipe. You can play double or triple, we'll add only double. We'll also add 1 Piercing Rune. That's another silver. We'll also add... let's see... What could we add? I know what we'll add. We'll add another silver card that is a spell, and I highly recommend you play in Daria. This card is actually almost made for Daria. It gives you so much tempo. It's just amazing when you play together with Daria. Your opponent cannot handle your board then. And what I'm talking about is Summon Ice Form. This may look like more of a D-shift card, you know, with this stall a turn practice, but you actually want this in your Daria. Trust me, guys, it gives you so much time to spell boost everything, and this deck is also spell boost based. So yeah, Summon Ice Form definitely played in the Daria deck. I would probably stick to 3 copies every single time. Alright, with that, let's see what else can we evolve here. Our next step in evolution will be probably cutting... I will show you the deck again so you can see how, you know, the steps of upgrading. This is your deck. You will add Angelic Snipe, Kaleidoglow, Clark, Summon Ice Form, another Piercing Rune, and more Darias, right? Then in your next step of upgrading, you probably want to get additional Mutagenic Bolt. You probably want to get rid of Chimera. And you probably want to get rid of Flame Destroyer. So we'll cut the high curve, right? Because Daria with Oglers and stuff is enough. I would say you can play some Flame Destroyers, but if you opt to play Flame Destroyers, you sometimes also need to play your Sorcery Cage, and I don't recommend it, alright? Flame Destroyer is just a bit too big for Daria. I would rather play Chimera, to be honest, especially in this kind of meta. So maybe let's keep double Chimera and cut just Flame Destroyer. We'll place 1 more Mutagenic Bolt, because you generally want to play 2 of them, sometimes 3. And then we will probably cut Secret of Erasmus. It's not a bad spell, but it's just not optimal, alright? You can disenchant it if you want, but I would not recommend it. And we will add our Wizardess of Oz. Let's say 2 copies. 2 copies should be enough in Daria. We can also cut Magic Girl Melvi, because now we are playing Wizardess of Oz. And we can add 1 more Conjure Golem, because we are playing only 2 of them, and it is a really good card, alright? So yeah, this will be the final step of the deck. You will play some 1-drops. Your 2-drops are mostly, you know, spells and boosts. On turn 2 to 4, you want to focus on spell boosting your Daria. So that's why your Craig will usually go on Daria. If you have Daria in hand, your Craig always goes on Daria. Clark spell boosts everything in your hand, so you can just play it, whether you have Daria in hand or not. Summon Ice Form, a bit of more strategical mind is needed to play this card, but its reward is really good, so I would definitely keep it. Piercing Rune is a no-brainer. You just use it to spell boost your cards, remove your opponent minions, and finish him with some face damage. Then we play Ogler, Wizardess of Oz, Blade Mage as some, you know, fit-in cards, Mutagenic Bolt, and Triple Daria. If you want to upgrade it a bit further and make it more synergistic with Oz, I would recommend cutting Chimera and putting Dance of Death. That, you know, because Chimera says destroy a minion and summon a 4/4. If you get it for 5 mana, it's pretty decent. But Dance of Death says destroy a minion and deal 2 damage to opponent's face, and that is probably more valuable. And also, you can use that with Wizardess of Oz, right? Wizardess will make it cost only 1 mana. So that's a bit of further synergy. And yeah, I would say this is the final look of this Daria deck. It's definitely not optimal. I have only 2 Darias. I never played Daria. I only played some Daria with Snowman. Um, that's credit to player named Shizonui. Shizone, I think. People just call him Shizo because his name is really hard to pronounce, but if you are watching this video, Shizo, definitely reveal yourself in the comments. And yeah, that would be it, guys. Remember, Meteor Golem is for Daria. I just don't have dust to show you, but yeah. With that said, we'll finish this video here, and feel free to subscribe to the channel because next pre-built decks are actually coming, and I will be also reviewing them all. I don't think we'll be playing the games with the decks, even if I have all the cards. I think it's just waste of time right now to play the games with these pre-built decks, because they are in really not optimal, well, built, so it's kind of waste of time. It's really waste of time. Alright, with that said, peace out, guys. Thanks for watching.